Showtime.
Dynamite Download.
Dynamite Download, your home for all positive coverage on all elite wrestling.
Promo, like the DMV. There.
This is the Symphony Boys.
The Symphony of Five.
Download, you guys. Positive energy. You have a great.
Your tribal fruit.
along, I come along in the.
Well, actually, I did see that, and I was thinking.
John Silver, welcome to the show, John. How you doing? More than a taste.
We were
more than a taste.
Cold spray. Tired of the cold spray.
I went to back to do an interview with those guys. You know why? Because they spread positivity about AEW.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Woo! And guess what? We are not only on YouTube and Instagram, but check this out. We are on formerly Twitter. We are the X Factor. Look at that. What?
And if you're not down with that, we got two words for you. We're live.
We're live. That's what I'm talking about.
What is up, everybody? Happy Thursday. It is Dynamite Download episode 111. And it was an awesome show on so many different levels. I love the fact that the announcers and AEW and the team and everything is going to really leaning into the ranking system, which we used to love, and now it's finally back better than ever. But, I forgot to ask, do you have the most recent standings?
Why, I certainly do.
Based on our draft standings so far, which we're almost a month away from Revolution. Let's see where we stand, even though I know that Mark over there. Where's your towel?
Well, it's been just kind of a little hot around here all of a sudden. Nipping at my heels. As you can see, I'm still in the lead.
Okay.
But coming right behind me, as I had 0 points on Dynamite. Crayfish actually is getting very close. He is within 4 points of me right now. SBD is in the 30s as well, so anything can happen. And again, Full Tilt Deb could come through at any moment and crush us all, which is usually what she does. So,
well, the thing is that all of our rosters are so diverse and have that opportunity to get a 3, 4, 5 point night easily, which potentially I'm going to be running into on Collision. You're going to start having to call me the Collision Cowboy because, with that tag match, the 3-on-3 battle or steel cage match, I could potentially walk away with 5 points in that match, or I could potentially walk away with 0 if Cash pins everyone. Yeah, and they win. I would get 0 points, but so it's a potentially big night on Collision for SPD.
We should explain to listeners what we decided. And this was a heated debate. So it's an elimination match. So we're treating it like a Royal Rumble, like a Battle Royal. So every elimination is going to be a point. We went back and forth, said, well, the team should win, whatever. But we decided we're going to go ahead and count it like since it's Eliminator. Every elimination is going to count as a
little
point.
bit different too, because you're actually pinning someone. You're not you're actually completing a victory essentially over that person by pinning them to the mat. The Royal Rumbles are a little different over the top rope. It's not, that could be a fluke and all that, but an actual getting someone, shoulders to the mat or tapping out, that's kind of pretty.
And in a Battle Royal, it could be more than one person throwing them out. Whereas clear pin, there's a clear person doing the eliminating. So,
but you got a big collision coming up. I know. I'm nipping at your heels. So we'll be definitely updating those rankings every single week as we do. But Dynamite, man, this was I had a nice night in the points department, but also I think it's the accelerator is getting pushed pretty rapidly, leaning into Revolution right now on so many levels. From even the world title picture, which was a lot of fun. Obviously, Samoa Joe kicked things off, followed by an awesome match with Hangman and Penta, two guys on Team SPD. And then, we heard from Sting and Darby Allin, kind of laying the groundwork of what their goal was, because they had that promo about, potentially having gold. And, some shenanigans in between from Tony Storm and Deano, and then the Young Bucks. So it's like a lot of different layers happened last night. Any match that really stood out to you that was your favorite of the night?
Oh my goodness, they all were. I mean, one thing I want to talk about the Penta Hangman match for a little bit, just because that was
right in
some of the psychology going on. First, having Samoa Joe on commentary, he was selling it really well. The fact that Hanger kept mean mugging Samoa Joe, but what I really like too is, it's one of those things where you kind of see the story that's going. It's the Hangman Swerve storyline, but they did a great job at Penta inserting himself. Like, hey, Penta could be in the running as well, and Penta was doing his own a bit of mean mugging and like, hey, I get the belt. He was really ready to, and again, what a great opponent for Hangman as Penta. I mean, that was one of those things where lots of, like, if it was a lesser person on the roster, it'd be a pretty obvious who was going to win. But this could have been one of those matches where you're pretty sure Hanger's going to win, but he might not. It's one of those things. It's going to be. It was incredible. Very brutal. I'm not
as expected.
I'm not sure what biting Penta's mask was going to do, Hangman, but I think he probably was just seeing red. But again, we'll probably talk more about this later, but this continuation of this classic feud between Hangman, and I love that they're keeping this going between Hangman and Swerve. We're going to probably talk about this, the call your shot challenge for next time, which I think next week, which is incredible, but people are really starting to compare. It might be too soon to compare, but people are comparing Hangman and Swerve to the old classic feuds between Stone Cold and The Rock, or Shawn Michaels and them. This is the building of a long-term feud that I hope we're going to probably see for the next couple of years.
I hope so too. I mean, those are big shoes to fill on all levels in terms of all of those rivalries that you mentioned, and I'm all for it. The real quick on next week's matchup, the whole call your shots thing, I think that's such a fantastic idea, adding that whole nother level to it. I think it's something that I wouldn't even have thought of, and it's just another way to kind of take jabs at your opponent. Like, Hangman and Swerve are at each other's necks, and so now it's like, how can I make your life more miserable but still trying to accelerate me closer to the top, because I want to be at Joe, I want to get at Joe. No, you're gonna have to do this. So I don't even know what to expect for stipulations. And moving on to this match, the opener of the night, I think it was a great way to open the match. And Penta and the Lucha Brothers are, some of my favorites in AEW. Just everything about Penta, man, just oozes with charisma. The guy just walks the walks, talks the talks, everything from his in-ring gear to his walk to the ring, to his entrance, to, just the way he carries himself in the ring in general. I love it, love it, love it. But to his demise, he has so many great matches, but just comes up so short so many times. I would love for him to start racking up a few wins if he is going to be a singles guy, or at least for a little bit. But he's one of those, and I would say Penta and Dax and Ray are some of the guys that are, strictly true tag team guys that really can stand alone in solos. Yeah, in solos environments. And we've seen a lot of that with Penta. And so I really enjoy this match. I expected it to be really physical, and it was. I expected it to be back and forth, and it definitely was. And so excellent way to get the crowd going and open the show on this one. And then with Joe on commentary, just adding that extra level, like you said, man, it was every week I get more and more excited about what they have in store for the world title picture. And the center of that is obviously Joe, Swerve, and Hangman, and that's great.
I would like to know in the chat too. Let us know. I am very curious on who they name for each other's opponent. I mean, was it going to be like Wardlow versus Hangman? Is it going to be like I don't know, Ray Phoenix versus Swerve, or Will Ospreay. I mean, or do you think it should be somebody outside the company? Like remember how MGF had those trials and he would bring like Nick Gage out or some of these other guys. I mean, I'm wondering if there's somebody out there, like Okada. Would this be a great way to introduce Okada to AEW? Have Swerve or Hanger try to face them or something like that. I don't know. It could be. It's going to be interesting how they're going to play this out, but
it's hard because it's going to be very interesting. Absolutely, off the cuff. Let's kind of book it like how we see it. I haven't had too much time to really digest it, but I did text our sidebar chat. I think both guys don't necessarily have a Rolodex full of friends that can come help them in a bind. So to me, I would love to see Hangman and Brian Cage get revisited because they've had some great rivalries. And then the stipulation would be like a Mogul Embassy Lumberjack match. So it's like, Cage throwing them out and then the Mogul Embassy just whooping them on the side or something like that. So something along those lines where it's a stipulation. It's not crazy like a Texas death match, but those guys can go in the ring. And then on top of that, you have obviously the whole Mogul Embassy. So it kind of ties it into that if we're going to keep it like that.
Ooh, I like this. I like this. Okay, so imagine Swerve getting into the ring, waiting, and all of a sudden you hear the chairman's lament, or what is it? The chairman's intent. Y'all don't even know me. Yeah, you see the hook signal.
Yeah.
Or Mox. Those are two wrestlers that when you hear their music, an ass whooping's coming. Like this is going to be, and Hook is already, he's already proven himself. That whole intro with him, getting up in Samoa Joe's grill saying it may not be now this year, but I'm coming. I'm getting that belt. So, do
you think other big guys will, accept the invitation for free for no reason? Like why would Mox want to help Hangman, or why would Mox want to help one or the other unless they already have like some, the vendetta they have had before in the tournament?
I think the answer is exactly the rankings, though. I think that's what now the blessing that the rankings are. A win's a win. If they're like, hey, we got you against Hangman, because here's the interesting thing about the rankings. Yeah. And we learned this the hard way with our draft. Moxley beating Hangman not only gives Moxley a win, but he drops Hangman down.
Right.
Hanger gets a loss. So it's actually pushing down the competition. If Hangman just wrestled people on Dark, it's helping, it's padding his wins, but it's not really helping him climb the ladder. But if you best a Moxley, or if Moxley bests a Hangman, it's pushing them up. So I think that's the advantage, is that if the rankings are really going to be a thing again, that's the selling point.
Yeah, I mean, you make a very good point on that. Something to ponder. What would you guys, if you guys are in the chat, what kind of stipulation or who would you want to see either Swerve or Hangman go against? And so let's just talk about the other side of the coin. Swerve Strickland versus Jeff Hardy, which we're leaning into more heel Hardys, which I'm absolutely all for with that part. There's undeniable wave of support for Swerve Strickland, and whose house? Swerve's house in the AEW universe. It's just so fun to watch and so fun to follow. I mean, Swerve is an absolute superstar, and Prince Nana, the whole thing, everything about it, it's a home run. But this match was, I really was impressed with Jeff Hardy's the way he handled this match. I was like, okay, the Jeff's is, as we've seen other instances where may not be his best showing, but I felt like he really held his own with Swerve. That move on the outside over the guardrail was very well executed off of off the steps or off the chair. And this heelish Hardy that we're seeing against Darby and against Swerve, I think that's kind of what they need. He was going to start dancing on the ring, but nope, he just started the delete chant.
It was Matt Hardy that told him to do it too. It's almost like Matt's kind of trying to get the good guy out of him or something.
All right. Yeah. So, another awesome showing by Swerve, and the crowd was so into this match. And, you know, I posted this online as well. I was like, I can't remember the last time someone wrestled on a consistent basis where every one of their matches the crowd was standing for, whether it be an opening match, middle of the card match, or main event. And Swerve's fan base and all of Swerve's matches, the crowd is always standing for and just going berserk for. And it's awesome to see, and he deserves it.
Unbelievable. You know, I hate to say it. I mean, I'm at the point with Jeff Hardy. I love the dude. He's such a nice guy, but I'm kind of wanting, like, I'm waiting. I'm hoping for the best, but I'm afraid for the worst with him.
True.
Like, there's times where I'm wondering, is he aware of what he's doing? Is he going to be okay? Now that spot he did where he was laying, kind of hanging by his feet from the rope, and then Swerve jumped. You know, that's cool stuff, but he's not the Jeff Hardy from the 2000s. You know, he's not
Absolutely,
the Jeff Hardy that took on Rob Van Dam, RVD in that ladder match at SummerSlam, and that's okay. You know, I mean, it's Matt Hardy's not Matt Hardy anymore as the one he used to be, but they're great. They're still great, not just from a nostalgia standpoint. I think it's one of those things where, you know, if we're expecting that Jeff Hardy, we're setting ourselves up and we're not giving the guy enough credit. And it's like you said, when he was still doing amazing stuff and working with Swerve, that's what a great person to work with for Jeff Hardy, and vice versa for Swerve. So I felt like the match was good, considering that, you know, there's some fears about Jeff Hardy, you know, making sure he's okay. And it sounds like he's on the right track. And it's just, you know, it is what it is. And Swerve could wrestle a block of wood and make it look good. And Jeff Hardy, Jeff Hardy showed up for work last night. And I thought that was great.
Yeah, you nailed it on the head. And impressive 2 matches by Jeff Hardy. And, you know, like, you know, I don't want to, you know, reiterate you too much, but it's one, watching him, I tread carefully, and, you know, because it's like you want the best for him, like you said, but it's just like, hopefully nothing bad happens, or, you know, no botches or any incidences where, like, you know, we'll move on from that. But it was a great match. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Both guys impressed me. And the bigger storyline is what we got right after the match, that backstage promo with both guys yelling at each other, than that stipulation. But that will bring me a segue into, like, Crayfish. You know, he has a hot take that is definitely right on point with this kind of hot topic right here. So let's hear from Crayfish's hot take, since he's enjoying himself at the Detroit Red Wings hockey game right now. He was able to give us a hot take pre-recording for us. So this week...
Wait a minute! By God, it's Crayfish! It's Crayfish! Running to the ring like a scalded dog! Cray 316!
All right, guys, time for a hot take. It's going to be a quick one because I'm almost here at Little Caesars Arena. Just wanted to quickly touch base on something that I think is really important to talk about. Recently on Dynamite, we had a lot of emphasis on the rankings. And personally, I think that's a sign of good things to come. I really enjoy this more focused, more serious tone. And I think so much of that is credited to the champion. The champion, Samoa Joe, sets an entire tone for the entire product that feels very, very different. And it's a real breath of fresh air compared to what we've seen. Joe is the utmost professional, highly respected within the industry, and somebody who I think carries a sense of no nonsense, right? I mean, it's not a coincidence that his chant is "Joe's gonna kill you," and you're not hearing kangaroo kicks anymore. I really feel like there's a time and a place for the comedy, but at the main event scene, in such an important transition for the organization, Joe is the perfect world champion. Personally, I think he is exactly what the product needs right now, when there are a lot of critics, a lot of armchair critics out there who think that they could book things better. Joe is somebody who kind of brings with him a tone that I don't think anybody doubts. So that's my take. Sticking to it.
I mean, I've
All
said
right.
it before. Great hot take, Crayfish. Thank you for bringing that in. That's a layered one in terms of rankings and wins losses. But Samoa Joe definitely brings a huge breath of fresh air. The guy is a seasoned vet. He gets the business. He carries himself like a champ, even when he's never holding gold around his shoulder or waist, anything. He walks the walk, talks the talk, and he's a scary big man. And I completely agree. I think this is one of the most important seasons AEW is in to really kind of reestablish them near the top of the top. Not to say that they aren't or haven't been, but I think this just will give us that much more of a boost for AEW as a whole. And that's not only is he giving us an awesome start to his championship reign and a focus mission and a world title picture that's been awesome so far. But now the reintroduction of the ranking systems, which we really, really enjoyed when they first did that. And that was kind of what drew us to AEW, was kind of just that differentness to it. And that was one of the key things that was different from AEW than other promotions, was the win-losses, how much they mean.
Absolutely. Now, this hot take was brought to you by Woo Energy. This flavor of the week is lemon, and it says, "Diamonds are forever." And I sound like Dusty Rhodes again. Let me try Ric Flair. Diamonds are forever. And so is Ric Flair. Woo! All right, let me take it.
What flavor was that again?
Lemon. And this is actually my favorite flavor.
Okay.
The lemon.
So that's flavor number 3 you've tried?
This is flavor number 3. It tastes like a non-alcoholic Tom Collins. Which actually, doesn't the Tom Collins usually have lime in it too? Lime juice? I don't know. I think that's my favorite. So, woo! So I'm going to rank them. Lemon, and then the dragon fruit. And then I didn't really care for the strawberry banana, but hey, it's all good. But about the rank for I want the rankings and Samoa Joe's, Crayfish is spot on. It's rare that I disagree with him. I think he's 100% on the he's 100% on Samoa Joe being such a compelling wrestler. The only thing I will disagree is MJF was a compelling champion considering the situation. I do think, I mean, the kangaroo kick was over. I mean, the crowd was popping for it. So if they're popping for it, it's selling, it's popular. Go for it.
What does Excalibur always say?
If it's over, it's over.
You got to give the people what they want.
Got to give the people what they want. Exactly.
So,
but
I mean, personally, I was a little over that too, but I get it. If I was in the crowd, I'd be cheering for the kangaroo kick in there live.
Yeah, exactly. But see, the thing is now I feel like 2023 is a year that AEW, it's kind of like a growing pain year. And I think AEW is very glad to put that year behind it. And we're going into kind of a new season, like you said. And like Samoa Joe presents a very, very formidable opponent at the top of the mountain. Very good final boss, if you will. And there's a lot of compelling stories to come out of it. And I think that bringing back the rankings, even if it was originally a response to kind of the Jinder Mahal hook thing, whatever, I think it's brilliant. I think it adds again that competitive edge. It gives a little more story to things. Sure. They don't have the dark and elevation to pad things, but I actually think that's good because of what we said earlier with Moxley. Yeah, that gives people a desire to go, okay, this guy, and kind of like what Colton said in our interview. You know, when we reminded him that he's got a better record than Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho, he's like, oh, great, now they're going to be coming for me to knock. And
he's got to fight him.
Yeah. So I think this is good. I would like if Tony Khan's listening, Tony, consider a quarterly reboot, like make it to the big four. I'll make the big four pay-per-views. You could have these other pay-per-views, but then you can keep the big four, Revolution, Full Gear, Double or Nothing, and all out. They can be your four where you reset the rankings. That way we're not waiting an entire year for somebody to get back up in the rankings. Plus, it fits for a good build-up to that championship match. So then after Revolution, now everybody's, not their overall rankings, but their current season rankings. we'll start over. So now I've got a chance to go after the title this time, and that gives you some flexibility in booking for storylines too.
It's you know, to piggyback on that, it's so often, like when the rankings were around, it was like, okay, if you didn't pay attention to Dark or Elevation, you didn't notice how someone picked up 2 wins off the bat, then all of a sudden they're in the top 5. And so it's not going to be uncommon, I think, where even if they don't do a reboot, where let's say Private Party, okay, they're 1-0 right now, and they haven't wrestled on TV, or they won't wrestle for a couple weeks, then all of a sudden they get one more win. That very next week, you could see them ranked number 3 for some reason, because they're 2-0, even though it's been 6 or 7 weeks, but they've only wrestled twice. So you can see it like that. But I do think the reboot is good, but it might be a little more challenging with that because of the lack of consistency with the depth of roster, where I said, Private Party could only wrestle 2 times, or Top Flight could wrestle 2 times in a matter of a month and a half. But if you do it quarterly, you're only wiping out, 2 to 4 matches, but it could be beneficial on both sides. But let's talk about someone who's undefeated in the rankings, someone who we want to push and who deserves to get pushed to the top as far as possible in the singles division, which is Thunder Rosa, is back-to-back victories on television. So she, was on Collision, and then now Dynamite, and then getting back-to-back victories in 2 great matches, honestly. And I think, as I've said before, and will constantly say it, she's someone that needs to be pushed in the singles division to the top quickly and stay there, because she obviously never lost her championship gold, which she could have, revisit. And essentially she probably is due for automatic rematch by contract of being a champion. But that's a whole nother thing. So I think keep booking her like this, where she's consistent on TV, putting in some good matches, getting the good time. And then after a few more matches, maybe she cuts a couple promos or cuts a promo and kind of gives us a direction where she wants to go. And so keep padding those stats. And as soon as they do release the rankings, she's going to be near the top, if not at the top, because she's undefeated right now in 2024.
I think that's great. I mean, she doesn't need to go after it for Revolution, but after Revolution, everything dust settles. And I thought it was kind of interesting. I don't think the cameraman knew what she was doing or caught her reaction. But if you don't, I got a cool meme that I saw right here, was where she had that pause, like so many choices. Like she's like, who do I go after? Do I go for Toni Storm? Do I go for Julia Hart, who is the TBS champion? Do I go for Ring of Honor Athena? Or do I reinvigorate my feud with Britt Baker? There's so many paths for her to go. And my answer is yes. All of the them, above? Thunder. All of the above. Go dominate. Now, I will say this. Nyla Rose's latest stuff with Athena, and actually with the Minions on Ring of Honor. If you're not watching Ring of Honor, it's worth checking out just for Nyla's shenanigans. She's been tremendous. But Thunder Rosa, I want her in the main title picture. She deserves it. I almost feel like the TBS title would be a secondary, but it could be a pit stop for Thunder Rosa becoming Thunder 2 belts, which would be an interesting story to have this year as Thunder comes back and becomes to be a double belt champion. And I think that would be pretty interesting. And what would be interesting is if she challenges Toni Storm or whoever, the current AEW champion, while holding the TBS title. You could have champion versus champion for all that for Wembley, All In.
Yeah, and that's very interesting.
What if that other champion? Because somebody's coming back very soon. We've already seen her guns. What if it's Jamie Hayter?
Ooh. I mean, Brian said AEW is so much better with Thunder on the roster. Absolutely, 100%. AEW is so much better with DMD on the roster, and Hayter and Deeb, as we're seeing back in Collision. So essentially, we're going to be getting 4. Deeb hasn't wrestled since 2022. That alone, if that was a free agent signing and making their debut on the AEW, that would be like a huge needle mover. And so now that she's back, that's a huge addition to the women's division. And, you spoke about it. You said Thunder 2 belts. And so, if she were to capture that, that brings me to our next segment that we're going to kind of figure out on the fly and in the chat is, we talked about it last week, was a women's tag team tournament. Now, this is a mock tournament that we're coming up with Dynamite Download. And, it's kind of been a hot topic with us and, rumored a lot online and just talking about if they're ever going to bring a women's tag team division, aka tag team titles. And so we just went ahead with it and ran with it. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put it out there and we're going to make our own women's tag team tournament. It's going to be 8 teams competing to win the inaugural women's tag team championship belts. And internally, we've come up with a couple different brackets. And Mindrunner and myself tonight we're going to create round 1. We're going to create the initial 8 teams of our women's tag team tournament, and then every single week we'll go to one more round, and then we'll announce the inaugural winners of the women's tag team tournament. Tony Khan and the team, and we know they're watching, so they're going to take all of our advice and they're going to book this to the T the way we book it too here at DD. So I'll let you share your screen, Mindrunner, and we're going to talk it through and go from there.
And we cannot confirm or deny that the winning team will get their own pair of replica belts. They might be this big, but we'll set them up. Now, I went ahead, and again, we want to hear your feedback. So, you guys in the YouTube chat, or you folks in the Twitter chat or X chat, sorry, and Instagram folks, let us know in the chat. Well, what are your thoughts on this? What teams would you like to see? I went ahead and started off with Mercedes Martinez and Diamante because that's kind of a team that I thought they're already built together. They've been crushing it on Ring of Honor, and they're both two that are familiar, that AEW is very familiar with. So I kind of put them in the rank as an example, but I can remove them. Again, when you're building a tournament, you kind of want your strongest teams on opposite sides, with the thought that they are likely to face off in the finals. But there's always upset, as we know. And anytime we filled out a bracket, we know that sometimes the sure things are not the sure things. So,
I think
let's go them in this spot?
Let's go, top left 2, and then we'll move over to the top right. So we'll go back and forth like zigzag. But yeah, I think as you mentioned that, I think why don't we revisit that awesome no DQ match with those teams that you have there? Keep there. Martinez and Diamante versus Willow and Stat. And, first round rematch with with that brutal match. And I think you have a really nice team that's starting to form and pick up some momentum with Willow and Statlander. And then it would be fun to kick that first round off with a rematch. What do you think?
That'd be such a brutal match. I think that'd be tremendous. There's already bad blood. Yeah. They've already shown that they can really bring it. I think that's a great matchup. And I think that would be a hard one to call as far as who's going to pull, especially when you get Stokely Hathaway in the mix. If Stokely's messing around, what's his deal? Is he going to be causing, because he's already trying to drive a rift between Willow and Statlander. So there is that mystery. Most of us would be pretty sure that it would be Stat and Willow coming out. I don't know in the chat if you agree, but there's always that Stokely factor. Stokely's always up to something. So
you're right.
That's somebody to keep your eye on.
Now let's move over to the other side of the tournament, other side of the bracket. We can call them, blue and red or A and B, whatever it may be. But for now, we'll call it that right side there. I think the first team that comes to mind, which we talked about in Thunder, was the double gold. That's Sky Blue and Julia Hart. They've been really seeming to have each other's back. And as much as I've really enjoyed Julia Hart's run so far, I think like the tag team titles with her buddy Julia Hart and Sky Blue together would be a lot of fun to see them kind of walk away with some gold as well. So I think that tag team, as the right side, we'll call it A and B, the B group to kick things off over there, would be an exciting team. Now, who would you?
And just to let everybody know, we're open to any champions, so because you can have more than one, you can have tag team champions in singles gold. So
Yeah.
we're not excluding people because they're champions, they're singles champions.
Exactly. Now, who would you want to
I
see
like that.
them go against in the first round? What are some teams
Well,
that you
see,
could possibly see?
this is without really sounding terrible because they're both outstanding wrestlers, but this is kind of where you're going to want to put in a decent team, but you're probably going to want them to take the L. A couple of thoughts I've had. I thought, this is where you could put kind of like a Yuka Sakazaki Rio team, or you could put Tai J, and because I don't know, but see, I'm not even sure. We're assuming non-injury. We're assuming everybody's back, right? We're not. This is barring any not delay in coming back, or I'm a mom now, I'm not going to wrestle for a while, that kind of thing. So
sure,
I would either consider a Tai J, or a team of Rio and Yuka Sakazaki, or a Kira Hogan Red Velvet team to put right there.
Yeah. I would like to see. What are you going for?
Well, let's just look at what it would look like with a Red Velvet Kira Hogan, or would you want a Tai J in that spot?
Well, I'm thinking babyface versus heel, and yeah, honestly, if we did Tai J, because they have a little history based on that homecoming show as well. And so thinking of the topics right now, a Tai J would be kind of a nice feud. And then for that, so I'm good with that.
And see, the thing is Ty was kind of Ty and Anna Jay were both kind of heelish when she left for maternity, but they've kind of by de facto Anna Jay with the Brody Lee tribute, and kind of her position, she's kind of in a limbo right now.
Right.
She's kind of become a de facto face. And with Tai J now as Mommy Tai J and Mommy Tai, I think they're going to come out. I think that she would get cheers if she came out. I
think
so I think that's
Conti would definitely get some pops for sure, especially Sammy getting pops as well. So especially the fans and everyone was really excited for both of them when they announced that news. All right, moving back to the A brackets. So I want to see the Outcasts in there. So
Outcasts.
Yes, Outcasts are going to be in there, which is Saraya and Ruby Soho. And I'm just looking at my notes on my side here. And who's a good babyface team that we could? No, I would do the Rio.
I would do I actually would consider the that would be a good Kira Hogan Red Velvet, but I have thoughts on Saraya and Ruby, but here we go. You can here's Rio and Yuka Sakazaki.
Yeah.
I like this matchup. I think this would work really well. And then we would eventually build to and the winner of this would take on this team. So, so at some point in this tournament, whether it's during this match or in the semifinals or whatever the next bracket, they're already teasing a breakup between Saraya and Ruby Soho on the count of Harley Cameron. And so somehow I think either during this match or the next one, somehow Harley's going to set a chain of events that causes Ruby to get pinned. And then Saraya is going to blame Ruby, calling her the weak link, but Ruby's going to be saying, no, it wasn't my fault. It was Harley Cameron. And then now you've got your feud, which I think that's what that's what I feel like they're building to. So whether we pull it, whether we start it here or it happens here and we advance Riho and Yuka, or do we advance the Outcasts, but then the next round, whoever they face. Yeah. So that's a good matchup.
Next, I mean, goes without a doubt, the returning DMD and Hater have to be in this tournament. I think, obviously both are former champs and could be thrown into the world title picture immediately. But the Tony Storm world title picture right now is definitely doing its job and doing good. I mean, in the future, if we were talking in months from now, you could see Tony and Mariah May as a team. But I think they're all tied up with something more important. I think having these teams that are not necessarily tied up in an amazing or like a definite program at the moment, this is a good time for the inaugural champions to potentially be DMD and Hater. And going against them is, man, it could be a lot of people.
I think this would be. Here's the thing. I do like the team of Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan.
Okay.
My question is this, and we don't know the backstage stuff, but for a couple issues I have with the IWC and just kind of, and I think sometimes we can't help it. All of us were human. A lot of times I think wrestlers, they'll see the 10 worst things on the internet said about them and miss the thousands of compliments, but that's human nature. I'll hear the one criticism like, "Oh, you dumb," that kind of thing. But I don't understand where Britt's coming from. That the fans have spoken, they want less Britt Baker. We want more Britt Baker. I mean, just about every AEW fan that I've talked to, they want that. But I also refuse to believe that you're either a Britt Baker fan or a Thunder Rosa fan. I think you and I agree. We're both. We're huge fans. And one of the, just like we're talking about the Hangman Swerve feud, it sounds one of the best feuds in the women's division of all time has been Thunder versus Britt.
You're right.
Having said that, it does sound like there's some real personal behind the scenes stuff between the two of them. Okay. The question is if they could put that past each other and be professional and have a professional match. I would actually have Thunder and another partner, like Thunder and Red Velvet, take on Britt and Hater, and that would sell this tournament as for the first time in years, Thunder and Britt are going to be face to face.
I think that's got to be main event stuff. That's got to be not a round one thing. I would love to revisit that feud 100%. I know Crayfish would be salivating thinking that and not being able to talk to us all about that. But I think the last team, it's so hard because they're, if we were to talk about this a year ago, it would have been hard to book a tag team tournament, in my opinion. Now I feel like it's so easy and you're almost running out of teams. I think you got to put Nyla and Shafir in there versus that. I would want to see Beast versus Beast in terms of Hater versus Nyla. And then you have 3 former champions in round 1. That's kind of like a nice marquee marketing to kick things off the tournament. We have 3 former champions in the ring all together. And that way, there's history with all of them, Nyla with both of them. So I like that team. What do you think about that, Mindrunner?
I actually think here's the thing you have to consider. We're booking this in a vacuum, right?
Right.
We're booking this in a vacuum that we're not paying attention to. We're not paying attention to what's going on, like singles feuds. We're not paying attention to what's going on in Ring of Honor, because if we factor Ring of Honor, they're building to a Nyla versus Athena feud. Now, granted, that Athena could show up and cost Nyla the match. I also think that
cross promotion needed.
I think they're spinning their wheels with Marina Shafir. I mean, my old armchair booking still holds true. Marina Shafir needs to be in a faction, perhaps LFI. I think BCC it'd be interesting, but she's just kind of spinning her wheels, and I think that they can really do something with her. I can see Nyla and Marina because you do kind of want a quote unquote heel team.
Yes.
My other proposal, though, because here's the thing. One of the things that made the Continental Classic exciting was we didn't know who was going to win.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a clear, there were so many stacked people. And one could argue that we do that with this. I'm gonna leave these guys here, but I'm gonna propose an alternate team. And since we already have Julia Hart in, Mariah May Tony Storm. Now here's the thing, just like you were saying about Thunder Rosa and Britt would be a what's it called? Thunder Rosa and Britt would be a main event thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's something we could put, Thunder Rosa with Abaddon or Thunder Rosa with Red Velvet or Thunder Rosa with somebody. But why not have Tony Storm, Mariah May? They lose, and of course Mariah takes the heat for costing Tony Storm the match. Could be something to do.
Given the
Deonna
landscape,
Purrazzo
yeah. I think given the landscape, especially, obviously there's people on this tournament that aren't currently actively wrestling, but I think to give more eyes, I like the way you're going with that. So, as much as I'd want to see like a heel team versus DMD and Hayter, which in this tournament, I would like to see DMD return to her heel form, maybe after winning it or maybe not winning it or coming close and turning heel. I like it. Tony Storm and Mariah May tag team, someone that admires Tony, but Tony's not necessarily all in, but she's been coming to help save her time and time again. And then eventually, like you said, costs her the match and they lose because Mariah's chasing after her, trying to say sorry. So I think the storyline's there, and it wouldn't do any harm to a loss to Tony because then you're just shifting back into a program. And with their promo work as of late, it could really hype up the tournament. So I'm for it.
Now, if we actually factor in injuries and leave of absence and whatnot,
right,
we could actually make the same argument for Thunder Rosa and actually put her instead of Ty J. We could put Thunder Rosa in somebody, and then the second round, because you still want to build some excitement with the second round.
True.
Then it's gonna. So like, let's just play around for a moment and consider Thunder Rosa, the graveyard shift from the graveyards of Tijuana, Thunder Rosa, Abaddon, and let's just pretend since we're playing, armchair booking, let's say this happens.
Right.
Now our second round is looking pretty good. This is just what I'm proposing.
Right.
So I think that that's something to think about. If we remove Ty J, and we put instead Thunder Rosa, because again, going back to the thing that made the Continental Classic, that turned me around 180 degrees on the Continental Classic, was the stock. Like when Tony Khan first announced it, I was like, are you kidding me? Another tournament? Then he explained the way it's going to go down. I was like, okay, it's some goofy thing. Maybe it'll be fine. But remember, everybody poo-pooed the Royal Rumble until they had the first Royal Rumble, and then everybody loved it. The same thing with this Continental Classic. I was poo-pooing it until first they announced the wrestlers are going to be in it, and it's like, wait, all these badasses are going to be in this Continental Classic?
Right.
I think we need to stack this tournament with some real deals.
A tournament, especially a new one without Thunder, would be a shame not to have. So whether it be Abaddon, which I know you absolutely love Abaddon, or Red Velvet as the partner, I think it makes most sense as of late because she already paired up with Abaddon to put Abaddon. So I think that we do that. Let's do it. You go all in. Don't give us like half-ass bookings. Some of the tournaments that we've seen before, it's kind of like, what? With this, you do have to put all your chips on the table, I think, to really knock it out of the park. And so Thunder Rosa for sure, whichever you feel like would be best partner fit, I'm for that.
Well, and now if we do again factor in other things going on, like Ring of Honor, Nyla's involved in a feud with Athena.
Yeah.
Abaddon is also she's now been prominent in Ring of Honor ever since her loss to the Instagram witch. So she's been kind of there. So I think it could go either way. You either go Red Velvet or Abaddon. Since Abaddon has already teamed, I kind of like that graveyard shift team. Let's keep it Abaddon and Thunder Rosa. I think that would be great and very compelling. Because look at this. Look at the dark. And once again, wasn't this we're revisiting this feud again? Because they had that match already.
All right.
So
I think that's a good baseline to get our first round brackets in. Let us know what you think. We're going to post it online as well, and let us know your feedback. We'll also make this is another clip, a side clip, so we can have it and talk it through, and you guys can all revisit this. But we're gonna start doing that.
Change.
Yeah, what's your change?
Gonna make one change. I think Kiera Hogan and Red Velvet deserve a spot over Rio and Yuka. That Rio has been sporadic. Yuka we hadn't seen in a long time.
Okay.
And Red Velvet and Kiera Hogan have been hustling. So I'm just gonna put them there.
I support it.
Cool. All right. Well, there we go.
Sweet. We talked about it last week. We said we were gonna hit it, and that is it. We're deciding it as a group of how we're the AEW Women's Tag Team inaugural champions. I want to talk about something that I thought was one of the highlights of the night, in my opinion. Very short and sweet, but you talk about tag teams, you can't mention a tag team match without talking about my guys, the Young Bucks. And
wait, use their passport names.
Hold on.
Use their passport names.
Correct me. Sorry. Thank you for correcting me. We have to talk about Matthew Jackson and Nicholas Jackson, aka the Young Bucks. The EVPs are here. They're coming through. Better have your credentials on, or you're going to get fined if you're not in your ring gear either.
Right.
The stuff that they did in that little minute segment, and then that little just backstage stuff, calling the match and with their headsets on, I thought it was just so ridiculously cheesy and awesome, and just showing us like how much of these just like repulsive heels are going to be. And I loved every little bit of it. I loved it. I wanted more and more and more. I hope we get more of this stuff, even if it's just like almost like every other match they're doing something. They're just like calling it, or they come out and they stop a match or something like that. Like, no, your time's over.
And when they come out, they got to do the Vince, the Vince march.
I want to see them stop a match. I want to see them, fine a ref. Maybe fire a security guard or something, just use their powers way more than they need to use it, man. I thought these two segments that they had was just absolutely gold from Nicholas and Matthew.
Now, it's going to be interesting how far they walk the line with any kind of Vince impersonation now, with certain allegations coming out. I don't know how far they want to go with that, but it's going to be interesting. I do feel like Brody Lee killed it when he was doing the Vince impersonations from, when the Dark Order, but this EVP, because you don't just have to make fun of Vince. There's so many personalities of that type to really make fun of. But like, I could see them, one person comes back from their match and they give them the such good shit, brother, kind of thing. Right. And then the other person comes back and they go, give them this, like, start giving silly advice, that's just terrible. I don't know. It's pretty, I think it's brilliant. I think they're always coming up, reinventing some kind of cool, just when people are starting to say they're bored with the Bucks, they come and they reinvent themselves like this. And it's such a joy to watch.
They got the mustaches, they got the headsets, they got the suit on, and they got the attitude, and it's already working so good. And they've really haven't done too much with it, but it's been so impactful in my opinion. And for those fans that really like love the Bucks, they're just eating it up like I am. Like, just, and I got to mention on our Instagram feed that we got a comment saying the Graveyard Shift is a cool name for a team. So props to that.
Yes,
Graveyard
Abaddon and Thunder. I love
that. Is that a Mind original?
Shift. Yes, it is. I even made we get demonetized if I play it, I put the Rob Zombie music to it.
So the Graveyard Shift with Thunder Rosa and Abaddon as a team, man, that is a nice job coming up with that. Yeah, it would be pretty cool to get some nice graphics and stuff and to run with it if Thunder's not doing a whole single thing. But props to that.
Awesome.
So
I love it.
We got time for one more segment. Is there a match or piece of the night that you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about the main event?
Or do you want to talk about? I do want to talk about something, but I just want to really quickly, because this weekend, I don't want to be, I might be cheating, but we're wrestling fans.
Yeah.
And this weekend on Saturday is my favorite of the other company's events, the Royal Rumble.
I agree with that. It's one of my favorites.
my pick to win the men's Royal Rumble this year. You can take it to the bank because this is what's happening. The powers that be are coming to fruition. He knew about it when he was a baby, and he told the doctor he was going to be in Judgment Day. That came true, and now it's time because the number one merch seller in WWE and the most entertaining and underrated wrestler in all of WWE is going to win the Royal Rumble. Ladies and gentlemen, you hear the truth from me right now. Listen to the truth. Our truth, Ron Killings, is going to win the Royal Rumble. You've heard it here first.
Wow.
Good luck, R-Truth. We know you got this. You're going to bring home that gold for Judgment Day. We're so proud of you already. Go get that gold. Go get that win. Go win that Royal Rumble. Woo!
And, it's not about, I know we're an AEW focused podcast, but it's not about degrading any other companies. It's also, we want AEW to succeed and we love what they're doing, but that doesn't mean we want others to fail and others to, anything bad to happen to them. So I 100% agree with you. Like, I love the Royal Rumble concept, always have. Just the stress, the anxiety, the anticipation of who's next, because it's always been so fun, from crazy surprise debuts to lasting over an hour in the ring to slipping and falling under the ring in Saudi, and so Titus did, and so a lot of things, and it's always like, it's one of my favorites is when you get to you see those like Hall of Famers and the nostalgia people come back, even if they come in for 2 minutes. It's always a lot of fun with that. But anyways, what is one more last segment you want to touch on?
We got to talk about Murder Grandpa. I'd like to talk about Murder Grandpa.
Okay.
I mean, granted, the stuff. I know that I don't want to diss the Acclaimed and Daddy and with Daddy Ash, and then all the whole thing going with the Bang Bang Gang, but we go listen to our interview with Colton Gunn, because we thoroughly discussed Bang Bang Gang, Acclaimed, the whole thing. So there's a lot of content there, but I'd like to talk about Murder Grandpa. One of the funny stories too was, I guess backstage, Adam Copeland was talking to Suzuki and said, I've been doing this 32 years. I bet between the two of us, we've got, a lot of experience. And Suzuki starts laughing. He goes, 36 years. You're my young boy. And so and the thing is, this is the second time that Suzuki shows up, loses, and storms off pissed off. So I don't know if that's, I love that as some kind of like storyline. I hate that he's got two L's coming here. My only little tiny gripe was I wish that they had Suzuki there the last time at the Cope Open when Adam Copeland was talking like none of these veterans are stepping up, and all of a sudden you hear Kazi Nina Ray play, with that totally not Bon Jovi riff. Yeah, coming out. Yeah, I'd love to have had him confront him earlier to set up the match. But regardless, it's tremendous. This was such a great challenge for Cope. I think that anybody criticizing what Adam Copeland's doing, you need to really think about two things. One, are you enjoying these matches by themselves? And he's having the time of his life. Adam Copeland is grinning ear to ear. If you just go on social media, he's always sending everybody home happy. He's always participating, like he was when we were at Collision in Norfolk. He was out there dancing with FTR and Daniel Garcia. He this past evening he came back out. He was out there with Orange Cassidy, and it's just. He's really embracing AEW. It's his home. He seems so happy, like a kid that's like living in Toys R Us. And I think that's what's really important. Because it translates to me. It translates in his matches, and I'm so happy for Adam Copeland. I'm glad he feels that way. I hope he still feels that way for years to come. And I love that Christian's watching with his turtleneck, clutching his TNT title with that scowl on his face. I love that.
So, very well said for sure. And, Copeland is essentially filling that void, and he as acting as an edgy version of Cody Rhodes in the early AEW days, where you have that ambassador. And so Copeland is an edgier version of Cody Rhodes, no pun intended, wink, wink, where you said, like, staying afterwards, just giving the, complete babyface 101 and an ambassador for what he's doing and ambassador for AEW. And so it's perfect. It's a perfect void to fill. I don't think there has been someone as of late that's really doing it that much. And you're talking about smiling ear to ear. I don't know how much he was smiling last night after a 55-year-old Suzuki beating the crap out of him with some of the hardest hits that you've had. Pound for pound, okay, Suzuki's not a big guy. I mean, first off, he doesn't wear elbow pads, knee pads, none of that. He's not a built guy. You see him, he looks like a lunatic because he is one in a good way. But pound for pound, the guy has got to be one of the strongest, toughest SOBs in wrestling. I mean, all the matches I've seen, the abuse he can take, the abuse he can give, the hardness of his chops, his hits, his matches. It's really, really, really fun and impressive to watch him for being a smaller guy and at the age that he's at. It's just, wow. I was wincing in pain.
I think that was a shoot when Adam Copeland got the mic. He's huffing and his chest is all red. He's like, damn. That was the toughest SOB I've ever read. Like, that's
the hardest I've been hit in 30 years or whatever.
Yeah,
I believe it.
Exactly.
I believe 100% believe it.
And I think, I don't know if Colton Gunn has ever taken a chop from Suzuki, because when we asked him who chops the hardest, his answers weren't Suzuki. But I wonder if we'd ever see, if Suzuki Gunn got back together, that would be devastating. But yeah, Suzuki's chops. I wouldn't want to take it.
Not just the chops, the forearm shots, everything he delivers is just,
and what he takes. Like you were saying, he's almost Sting level. Like, he sells, but he's like, he can take the punishment and dish it back out. That there's a reason he's called Murder Grandpa.
I mean, wrestling is in his blood, and he just in all levels, give and take, and just very fun to watch him when he does get his time on TV. And I can't believe how tough he is. It's impressive. The Cope Open has been it's such a big hit and a joy. And I know it was kind of on the cuff of coming up with that, but I love where he's going. And, this is the road to Revolution. And I think we're going to get a lot of great babyface stories, which you're going to be there live, which I'm jealous for. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it. I'm not going to be able to make it, but you're going to see Sting and Darby Allin, most likely, hopefully holding gold in Sting's last match in the main event. I would assume it's the main event because, Tony Khan would have to be. I mean, you have the icon, ending his career officially. And then you have Copeland versus Christian Cage, in which if they do get the rematch at Revolution, I think that has to be the final time that they kind of go head to head, where, close that chapter for now. Which they've drawn it out, and they've built it so perfectly and so well. And then you have Diana Perazzo and then Tony Storm fighting, which we totally didn't even talk about, which could ran out of time because you're booking that tournament. But awesome promos by them and the way they shot. Props to the team for doing that. But she's someone that I could definitely see dethrone Tony Storm, a legitimate challenger that I could see her having a true heel run with the championship. And then you also have Orange Cassidy versus Roderick Strong so far. So you got a handful of matches already built and booked for Revolution to start to shape out the card. And who knows what's going to happen in the world title picture, whether it be a triple threat, where it be one-on-one. And so AEW is on a roll right now. And Collision, Rampage and Collision are both starting to shape up to be two awesome shows with that steel cage match. Two women's matches on Collision, Serena Deeb back in action, Danielson in action, Mox in action on Rampage. So Team SPD is going to start hopefully racking up some points over the next 2 days.
Yeah, let's see. Let's look real quick. Yeah, I mean, you've got You got all of House of Black. You've got Cash. You've got you got Brian Cage. You got all these. Yeah, this is.
I got Danielson going. I got Cash, Garcia, House of Black.
You got
I
Hanger.
got,
Hanger's going to be racking in some points
Moxley.
just with this whole thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable. This might look like
sorry.
No, it's right. This might look like I'm comfortable, but I'm not comfortable.
Go to your roster. Let's see what you got.
Because I mean, here's the thing. I'll admit I've been riding on Orange Cassidy.
Mhm.
Orange Cassidy and Sky Blue have been getting me some W's, but I do have Tony Storm. I do have the champions also, Julia Hart. I've got Big Cass, and I've got Private Party, and Private Party is going to be grabbing some more dubs.
Definitely, they're going to push them a little bit.
Yep. So
I mean, you already have 2 guaranteed matches at Revolution with Next Strong and Tony. So as we saw, it could be like the grand finale coming down to the wire to the main event. And so I got Darby Allin on my team, and I have Jackson on my team, one of the Jacksons. So it's like, that could play in a factor if that's where they're going with the Young Bucks EVPs versus it's not official that they're going to be fighting, but all signs point towards that.
That's what Sting had requested, so we'll see.
Maybe at the end of it, we'll be seeing a lot of confetti that SPD loves. Confetti, but all right, everyone, thank you so much for stopping by on both X, Instagram, and here on YouTube Live.
Shout out to Brent Ross.
That's right. Thank you all for joining the chat, and let us know what you think of the AEW Women's Tag Team Tournament. And if you have not already taken or seen our interview with Colton Gunn, make sure you check that out on our YouTube channel. It is live now. We got some short clips. We also have it on Spotify, so make sure you check out that interview because it was a lot of fun. Great guy. Thanks to him and the AEW team for helping us set that up for us. So enjoy the weekend. Lots of great wrestling. Like you said, Royal Rumble, Collision, Rampage, it works, and lots of confetti.
Lots of confetti. We're overloading with confetti. Have a good night, Raz. Good night, everybody.